They say betrayal hits hardest when it comes from family. I never understood that until it happened to me, until I watched my own brother take everything I'd worked for and the woman I loved, all in one night. 7 years ago, I was 27, still clinging to the idea that hard work and loyalty meant something. I was building a startup with my older brother, Derek. We were opposites in every way. I was the quiet, technical one. He was the smooth talker, the kind of guy who could make venture capitalists lean in just by smiling. Together, we called our company CoreSync. The idea was simple but powerful, an AI algorithm that could predict and optimize supply chain delays in real time. What we didn't realize back then was how much people would kill, metaphorically or otherwise, for something that powerful. We started in my garage. Literally. 2 laptops, too much coffee, and the same dream, make something that mattered. For years, Derek told me, "We're in this together, little brother. 50-50, no matter what." I believed him. Hell, I built the entire system from scratch. Line by line, error by error. He was supposed to handle investors and legal paperwork. I handled the code. Then came Emily. I met her at a networking event Derek dragged me to. She was an event coordinator, smart, kind, with that type of smile that feels like home. She laughed at my awkwardness, said I reminded her of someone who thinks faster than he talks. We started dating soon after, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't just building something on a screen, I was building a life. She believed in me when no one else did. Or at least I thought she did. Things started to change the moment CoreSync got attention. Investors called. Emails piled up. Derek started showing up less to the coding sessions and more to meetings. Emily started spending time helping him prepare presentations. I thought it was sweet, my girlfriend supporting my brother, helping us grow. I was proud of both of them. Then came the pitch meeting, the one that was supposed to change everything. We had been trying for months to get in front of a major logistics firm that could fund our expansion. Derek told me he'd handle the presentation while I focused on the back-end demo. He said, "You're the genius. Let me be the face." So I stayed home all night, tweaking the system to perfection. The next morning, he called me, said the pitch went amazing, that they were interested but cautious. I didn't think much of it. We celebrated at home that night, pizza, cheap champagne, laughter. Emily was glowing. She kissed me, told me she was proud. I remember thinking that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of everything we dreamed about. I couldn't have been more wrong. A few weeks later, Derek told me he wanted to take over the business side completely. Said it'd free me up to focus on innovation. "We're brothers," he said. "I'd never screw you over." So I signed the papers. Didn't even read them. Because why would I doubt him? That was my first mistake. My second was coming home early one Thursday afternoon. I had been at a small investor lunch, alone, because Derek said he was too busy handling follow-ups. I wanted to surprise him and Emily. We hadn't spent much time together lately, and something in me missed that closeness. The apartment door was unlocked. I remember every detail, the smell of her perfume, the soft hum of music, the sound of muffled laughter that turned into silence the moment I stepped inside. I followed the noise down the hall and opened the bedroom door. Derek. Emily. Together. Time slowed. My mind went blank. There was no screaming, no dramatic scene, just the three of us frozen in the most disgusting, surreal silence imaginable. Derek's voice cracked. "It's not what it looks like." But it was exactly what it looked like. I walked out without saying a word. Packed a bag that night. Didn't even turn off the lights when I left. The next morning, my inbox was filled with notifications. My access to CoreSynca's repositories was revoked. My credentials, deleted. When I tried logging in, I found a new CEO listed on the company's registration, Derek Cole. No co-founder. No mention of me anywhere. There was only one email waiting for me, from Derek himself. "You left your guard down, little brother. I'm sorry. This is business." Business. That word played in my head for weeks. I guess love and loyalty were just another kind of transaction to him. Emily never reached out. I didn't see her name again until months later, under the Marketing Director section of CoreSynca's website. Smiling, polished, standing beside Derek like they'd built the empire together. And maybe they had, on my blood. I didn't confront them. Didn't sue. Didn't even tell my parents. I just disappeared. Sold everything I had. Took the little money left in my account and bought a one-way ticket to Finland. Somewhere cold enough to freeze the past out of me. That first winter, I worked nights at a data center outside Helsinki, quiet, anonymous. I slept on the floor, ate instant noodles, and wrote code because it was the only thing that still made sense. Every time my fingers hit the keyboard, I told myself, I'll build something better. Stronger. Something no one can ever take from me again. 7 years later, I did. But I didn't expect fate to bring them back, in the front row of my keynote presentation, smiling like ghosts I thought I'd buried. And that's when I realized, this story wasn't over. I didn't plan to ever set foot in the US again. When I left, I thought I'd buried that part of my life, the betrayal, the humiliation, the constant ache that came from being replaced by my own blood. But pain has a strange way of fermenting over time. It hardens, sharpens, and eventually, it becomes motivation. For years, Finland was my escape and my punishment. The silence there was absolute, white snow, endless nights, no one asking who I was or what I'd lost. I worked anywhere that paid, data centers, coding gigs, freelance AI diagnostics. I slept 4 hours a night, drank too much black coffee, and spent every free minute building something new. Something that couldn't be stolen. That something became Aura, an adaptive AI framework that could learn, replicate, and optimize itself faster than anything else on the market. It started as a personal challenge, then turned into an obsession. It took me 5 years, thousands of hours, and every ounce of discipline I had left. And when I finally published a white paper under a pseudonym, just to test the waters, it exploded. Academics, investors, and tech forums lit up overnight. Everyone wanted to know, who built this? That was the first time I used my real name again. And just like that, the ghost started stirring. The email came 6 months later, an invitation to deliver a keynote at the Future of AI Integration Summit in San Francisco. The irony was almost poetic. That city was the site of my public humiliation, where CoreSync Technologies was born, where my name had been erased. I almost deleted the email. But something inside me, something buried and bitter, whispered, go. So I went. The moment I stepped into the Moscone Center, memories hit me like static, late nights, startup dreams, promises made in that same city. But now, I wasn't some desperate programmer with a stolen idea. I was the creator of Aura, a system the world suddenly cared about. My name was on banners, in press kits, on badges that people wore around their necks. It didn't feel real. I walked the exhibition hall, quietly, just taking it in. AI startups everywhere, booths, buzzwords, recycled ideas dressed as revolutions. And then I saw it. A massive booth, perfectly lit, slick and expensive, CoreSync Technologies. The logo I had designed 7 years ago still pulsed on their screen, like a scar that wouldn't fade. And standing right under it, Derek. Older, maybe a little heavier, but still carrying that smug, magnetic energy. And Emily, next to him, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my plane ticket. She was smiling for the cameras, her hand resting lightly on Derek's arm. There was a wedding band on her finger. For a long moment, I couldn't move. My chest tightened, and all the years I'd spent pretending I didn't care collapsed in a second. I should have turned around. I should have left. But I didn't. That night, back in my hotel room, I poured myself a drink and stared at their company website. CoreSync Technologies, empowering intelligent automation. Their about page credited Derek as founder and visionary leader. Emily was listed as head of strategic development. My name wasn't there. But my code was. I recognized fragments of it in their demo videos, my syntax, my logic flow, the signature structure I had written years ago. They'd taken that too. It made sense now. Derek hadn't just built his empire off what he stole, he'd never stopped using it. He'd just rebranded it, repackaged it, and paraded it around like his own creation. I could have gone to the press. Filed a lawsuit. But none of that interested me. Not yet. Because what I wanted wasn't money. I wanted them to see me again. To sit in that audience, thinking they'd won, and realize they were wrong. The next day, the conference organizer called to confirm my slot for the closing keynote. The biggest session of the entire event. Dr. Cole, she said. We expect a full house. CoreSync will be there, by the way. They're sponsoring the closing dinner. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. Good, I said. Wouldn't want them to miss it. Later that evening, when I got back to my room, I found something slipped under the door, a folded piece of paper, handwritten in neat cursive. We heard you're speaking. Let's catch up while you're in town. D&E. The sight of those initials hit harder than I expected. I set the note down on the desk, next to the half-empty glass. The city lights from the window cast long reflections across the paper. For a long while, I just stared at it, at the past I thought I'd outgrown, now knocking on my door like it had been waiting all this time. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe pride. Maybe something darker. But I didn't throw it away. Because for the first time in 7 years? I wanted to look Derek in the eye. And I wanted him to know that I hadn't come back to forgive him. The restaurant Derek chose was the kind of place where the cheapest bottle of wine cost more than my rent in Helsinki. Glass walls, white tablecloths, and a view of the bay that made everyone lower their voices, as if money itself demanded silence. When I arrived, they were already seated. Derek looked every bit the tech mogul, charcoal suit, gold watch, that same easy smirk. Emily was beside him, hair pulled into a sleek bun, wearing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. For a second, I just stood there, studying them like strangers in a museum, beautiful, cold, untouchable. Then Derek rose, arms wide. "Nate. Man, it's been too long." I let him hug me. I didn't hug back. We made small talk, the kind that's all surface and no substance. Emily asked about Finland, my work, my amazing comeback. Derek kept saying how proud he was of me, as if he hadn't gutted me years ago. Then came the real reason for the invitation. "So," Derek said casually, cutting into his steak, "I heard about Aura. Impressive stuff. We're developing something similar at CourseInc, adaptive AI optimization. You know, great minds think alike." I smiled into my glass. "Sure. Though I think mine's a little ahead of the curve." That hit him. Just slightly. His grin tightened. "I'm sure there's room for collaboration," he said. "We could use your expertise again, maybe even rebuild what we had." Rebuild? Like I was supposed to forget he'd bulldozed everything first. Emily didn't speak. She just kept glancing at me like she wanted to say something but couldn't. Her left hand trembled when she picked up her wine glass. The ring on her finger caught the light. I wanted to ask her why. Not how, why. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I said, "Maybe. Send me a proposal. I'll take a look." Derek beamed. "That's my brother." My brother. The same man who'd once looked me in the eye and lied. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the hotel window, staring at the fog rolling over the city. Every part of me wanted to walk away, but another part, the one that had spent years buried under frost, whispered, "Don't run this time." By morning, I'd made up my mind. If Derek wanted to play business again, I'd play better. His proposal came the next day, a collaboration offer in corporate language polished to perfection. I scanned the PDF carefully. They wanted limited access to Aura's code, for integration testing. It was laughable. They were still trying to steal. So I signed. But before I did, I embedded something inside the metadata, a digital signature invisible to the naked eye. Aura's failsafe. Once their system touched it, Aura would trace every interaction, every keystroke, every duplication attempt. A living breadcrumb trail. Over the next 2 days, CourseInc Technologies test servers pinged my system repeatedly. They probed, copied, replicated. Aura watched, learned, and quietly logged everything. By the time my keynote came, I had enough data to burn them twice over. The conference hall was packed that afternoon. Rows of investors, academics, journalists, all waiting to hear the creator of Aura speak. The air buzzed with quiet reverence. And there, in the front row, sat Derek and Emily. He looked smug, confident. She looked nervous. I stepped up to the podium. Adjusted the mic. 7 years ago, I began, I walked away from everything I'd built. Not because it failed, but because I did, by trusting the wrong people. The room went silent. I let the words hang there, long enough for Derek to shift uncomfortably. Then I moved on, talking about innovation, ethics, and how trust in technology should start with trust in its creators. As I spoke, my slides shifted behind me, data graphs, schematics, Aura's architecture. Then came the final slide. I'd like to end with something special, a live demonstration. The audience leaned forward. Derek did too. Aura's network map appeared, glowing lines connecting nodes in real time. Each represented an active user or partner server. Then, one by one, red warnings began to flash. Aura was tracing unauthorized access. Every location. Every timestamp. And right there at the top, CourseInc Technologies, HQ, San Francisco. Unauthorized duplication attempt. Severity, critical. The crowd gasped. Murmurs rippled through the hall. I looked directly at Derek. His jaw tightened. Emily covered her mouth. Her eyes darted to him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I believe transparency is key, I said evenly. Especially when integrity is compromised. I closed the presentation. The applause was hesitant at first, then thunderous. When I glanced back down, Derek was already gone. Emily stayed seated, staring at the floor, trembling. I didn't stay for questions. Because I knew, this wasn't the end. It was the ignition. By the time I stepped off that stage, the story had already gone viral. Within an hour, clips of my keynote were everywhere, Twitter, LinkedIn, tech blogs. Headlines screamed words like, "Betrayal Exposed Live" and "CourseInc Under Fire for Code Theft." I didn't plan for it to blow up that fast. But I wasn't complaining. My phone lit up with calls from reporters, venture firms, even a few old professors. I ignored them all. I just wanted silence, a moment to breathe after 7 years of holding it all in. But silence didn't last. When I got back to my hotel that night, there were 2 people waiting in the lobby. Lawyers. "Mr. Cole," one said, "we represent CoreSync Technologies. Mr. Cole, your brother, claims your demonstration was defamatory." I almost laughed. "You should tell your client to check his inbox." They didn't know it yet, but I had already sent Aura's full trace logs to 3 independent cybersecurity firms and 1 journalist I trusted. The digital fingerprint left no doubt. Derek's servers had accessed Aura's code before the keynote, violating the very NDA they'd sent me. I didn't need to defend myself. The proof was already public. 2 days later, CoreSync's board suspended Derek pending investigation. The company's stock nosedived 40% overnight. Investors pulled out. The FTC launched a formal inquiry into intellectual property theft. I didn't feel joy. Just an eerie calm, like watching a storm from behind glass. Then Emily called. Her name flashed across my phone for a long time before I answered. "Hi, Nate." Her voice was small. I didn't know he. I cut her off. "Don't lie, Emily. Not again." She went quiet. "I tried to reach out," she said finally. "You disappeared. And he said you left the project. That you didn't care anymore." I wanted to scream. But what came out was worse. "Then why did you help him erase me?" She didn't answer. Just whispered, "I'm sorry." And for a moment, I almost believed she meant it. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You got your revenge, Nate. You won. Isn't that enough?" I hung up. Winning didn't feel like victory. It felt like justice, quiet, clinical, overdue. Weeks passed. Investigations deepened. CoreSync collapsed under its own lies. Derek went silent. The world moved on. Until one morning, I got an email from an unfamiliar address. No greeting, no signature, just a single line. "You were right. I'm sorry." Attached was a photo of Derek in what looked like a cheap apartment, unshaven, exhausted. The man who'd once smiled from magazine covers now looked like a shadow. I deleted the email without replying. Some ghosts are better left unacknowledged. A month later, I flew back to Helsinki. The snow had started falling again, the kind that muffles the whole world until you can only hear your own heartbeat. I stood by my apartment window, laptop open, watching Aura's dashboard glow softly in the dark. The system hummed, alive, learning, adapting. It had everything I'd ever built into it: precision, self-awareness, resilience. And unlike people, it would never betray me. Still, part of me missed the man I used to be, the one who believed family was forever, that love couldn't be weaponized. But that version of me died the day Derek stole my code. This version had learned something better. Justice doesn't always wear a robe. Sometimes, it wears a microphone, a stage light, and a calm voice telling the truth to a room full of people. And sometimes, that's enough. As the city outside disappeared beneath the snow, I closed the laptop, poured myself a drink, and whispered the words I hadn't said in years. "Goodbye, Derek." Because for the first time since that night 7 years ago, I didn't feel betrayed. I felt free.